Welcome back, everybody. Still on our unit of solving equations, and today in our third section, 3.3, we're now going to be combining, multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting. And instead of a one-step equation, we're now looking at two-step equations. And earlier I had said it's going to be very important for you to use paper to show your work, to show the steps when you're solving this. And you may have thought, oh, the first two lessons were easy, I didn't really need to, I can see it in my head. This is where it really becomes important that you are using paper. So if you're struggling to do the homework and it's because you're not using the paper, you need to make sure that you're using scrap paper to write these down and solve the steps, because they are going to get more complicated than even what you see today. So it's very important for you to write out on paper the steps and showing the appropriate work, because it will keep you organized and get you the correct answer. So, what does a two-step equation look like? Well, you can see I have not just an addition problem, x plus 4, but there's a coefficient in front of that variable of -3, which means I have two different operations. I have a multiplication problem and an addition problem in my equation. That's the two steps. To do an addition subtraction problem, to do a multiplication division problem. Those are our two steps in solving these. Now, how do you solve a two-step equation? Well, our goal is to always isolate the variable. The variable's got to be on the same side, or one side of the equal sign all by itself. So to do that, the variable's here with the coefficient. So I'm leaving that alone first, which means I'm going to do the addition or subtraction first. So that's my first step, is to do the addition or subtraction. Then I'm going to solve for that variable, which is either the multiplication or division of that. So let's take a look at that problem. -3x plus 4 equals 16. I said to start with the addition or subtraction. That'll leave the variable here. I have a plus 4. The inverse is subtraction, so I subtract 4. That eliminates it. What I do to one side, I must do to the other side. So I need to balance the equation by subtracting 4 over here. Draw my equal sign. Bring everything down that I haven't used yet. My -3x, my equal sign. And then I can solve this part. 16 minus 4 is 12. We're not done yet because I have a coefficient in front of that x. I haven't completely isolated it yet. So I need to get x all by itself. To do that, -3 times x, my inverse is division, and I'm going to divide by that coefficient, -3. That eliminates that. To balance the equation, I need to also divide by -3 on this side. So now I bring my x down, my equal sign, and I solve my equation. 12 divided by -3 gives me -4. And yes, you can plug this back in. -3 times -4, because we said -4 is what the value of x is. -3 times -4 is 12. 12 plus 4 equals 16. Let's look over here. Start with the addition or subtraction to isolate the variable. Plus 3. The inverse operation is subtraction. So I subtract 3. Cross that out because we've eliminated it. Plus 3 minus 3 is 0, so we've eliminated it. Balance the equation. What we do to one side, we must do to the other. So I subtract 3 over here. I'm going to go ahead and bring down the next line of my problem. Bring down my equal sign. 21 minus 3 is 18. Now I'm left with that one-step equation for multiplication. 9 times x, the inverse is divide. Divide by the coefficient. And then we balance the equation. What we do to one side, we do to the other. I divided by 9 over here, so I will divide by 9 over there. And then bring down the rest. X equals 18 divided by 9 is 2. So x equals 2. Few more examples. few more examples for us. We'll just do these first two examples. 10n plus 1 equals 161. Start with the addition or subtraction. So my plus 1, the inverse is minus 1. That eliminates it. Balance the equation now. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So I have to subtract 1 over here. Bring everything down. 10n equals 161 minus 1 is 160. Now I've got to solve for n to get it all by itself. To do that, 10 times n, the inverse operation is division. Divide by that coefficient of 10. That eliminates it. Balance the equation. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So I divide this side by 10 also. And then bring everything down. N equals 160 divided by 10. Well, I can eliminate those zeros. 16 divided by 1 is 16. So n equals 16. Let's look at this one. The only differences are in this one is the number is on the left side and not here, and we have a division problem. So it looks a little different, but we're still not going to start with the multiplication or division. We're going to start with the addition or subtraction. We'll start with this number. We look left. To the left is negative 10, minus 10. So the inverse operation of negative 10 is plus 10. Negative 10 plus 10 gives me 0. It eliminates it. What I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other. Since I added 10 on this side of the equal sign, I have to add 10 over here. I'm going to bring this part down. M divided by 5 equals negative 13 plus 10 gives me negative 3. M divided by 5 equals negative 3. To get m by itself, we do the inverse operation here. We've got division. The inverse operation is multiplication. We multiply by that denominator, and that cancels out. What we do to one side, we must do to the other. So I multiply this side by 5 also, and then m equals negative 3 times 5, negative 15. So at this point, go ahead to Google Classroom, check out your homework assignment. If you get stuck, please refer back to this video. If you still need some assistance, please reach out to me, and we'll see you next time.